great photos aren't going to be cutting it anymore. You can see that with the evolution of Instagram and why they're copying TikTok with the Reels. Realtors are creating this organic type content with people experiencing the house as it should be. That's going to drive a lot more people to be viewing the house.
I am one of your hosts, Montana Duran.
I'm Logan Martinez.
I'm Blake Clemens.
And I am Nate Straubinger.
And we are so glad you are here. This podcast is really going to be a resource for realtors to grow their brand, elevate their marketing, and connect with like-minded professionals. So I kind of just wanted to, everyone on the team, do a little introduction of yourself, who you are, what you do at CLOUT, and then we'll kind of tell the story about CLOUT. So Logan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can do that. So my name is Logan, and I started the company back in 2019 with my best friend, Nate. We kind of started as a side hustle, taking photographs of listings. I was a real estate agent, and Nate was an outstanding photographer. And that's kind of how we kicked off. I come from a real estate background, and over the last 5 years, I grew a really strong passion with media and marketing and working with individual clients to help them, stand out and create really cool videos and stuff.
Love that. What about you, Nate?
Well, I'm Nate, CEO of CLOUT, and like Logan said, we started this as a side hustle that eventually just kind of caught fire. It was right when COVID was hitting, also a time where I quit my job to go full in with Logan on this adventure. And it's been really just like an awesome experience. The people that we've met, the different places we've been able to travel, and just the different homes that we've been able to go into and film. It's just been an incredible experience. So now we're starting this podcast to show a little bit more about who we are, and we deal with a lot of clients in different states, and we thought that this would be a great way and the best way to really just get our message across to everyone. So glad to be here, and thanks, Montana, for facilitating this.
Of course. Blake?
Yeah, so I'm Blake. I am territory manager. So I do a lot of client relations, a lot of back-end systems, kind of finalizing what we shoot to deliver to the agents. I also do a lot of miscellaneous things as well in terms of editing, essentially relationship. I drive a lot of relationships, try to create new business, things of that nature as well. I guess the backstory to that would be Nate and Logan. I met Nate a little further down the line, but Logan came and presented an opportunity to me back in 2020, and we ended up going to Sun Valley for like this really, really cool house that we landed, and he was very excited. I was excited to start. We got all this gear, went there, and we shot the house. It's very poorly done at the time compared to what we do now, and that was kind of the first step into me being into CLOUT. But more recently, in 2022, the opportunity arose to go to San Francisco and learn a little bit more about the business. So I kind of picked up my things and moved there out on the limb. And within like a year and a half, learned a lot of good trade, like more about the business to where I'm at now, where I ended up moving back to Boise. And now I'm in the unique position for expansion for this particular territory, but also, driving a little more business in some additional territories moving forward. So
I think it should be noted that Blake is speaking extremely humbly. He has absolutely been crushing it, and he packed up his bags, moved to San Francisco, went back to Boise, conquered the entire area, and now we are preferred vendors for a lot of the top producing brokerages out there in Boise. So just want to go ahead and throw that in there because Blake, you are doing an awesome job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I love that. And I love that you guys are all friends, like, and you work together and have built something. I think that's really special. So what makes CLOUT different than other just photographers or videographers? What makes you guys different?
I'll touch on that. So, when we first started out, we started early compared to how many real estate photographers and real estate marketing companies there are now. There's way more. And, where we were, there were, just people that weren't like us, like just young, fun, energetic, and creative. It was, a lot of older photographers, very classical type of videos and stuff. So when we, um, first started out, we wanted to be different. And we kind of took this edgy look and, brought this to our clients with, just using like really cool, energetic music for video tours. And, traditionally you would have real estate photographers go into houses and just shoot like wide angles, just saying, hey, like this is a living room. Hey, this is a bedroom. But we took more of like a artistic approach of like creating like little vibes and like little moments within the home to really like make it stand out. Like what it would be like sitting from your living room looking into the backyard at the pool, So these are these like moments we try to capture. That's how like our media stood out and our marketing. But most of all, I think um, is our client relationships. I mean, most of our clients, um, we really treat them well. I mean, we don't look at it as like transactional. We try and get as close as possible to them, and we're fortunate enough to have some clients that really like treat us like family, open their family's doors to us, and welcome us inside their houses and stuff. So it's really cool, and I think that's what makes us stand out among our competition.
I could probably add to.
Yeah.
I have a story as well. So we started out just giving the run-of-the-mill type content to our clients, and we didn't really know any better. And there was one time where our top client at the time, we were trying to expand. This was like, I would say about 4 or 5 months like into our business. We were trying to like scale already and hire people. And we just had no idea of what we were doing, but we threw somebody out there that we got to know and didn't really do the best job, maybe the best for himself, but it just wasn't up to our client's expectations. And at this time, since this was our top client, there had to be something that was done. And so I went over to the property that we were working on, and it completely changed the game when I just zoomed in a little bit, like with the lens, and went from like a 14 millimeter wide angle lens to like 50 to 70 to get like really detailed shots. And our client was blown away at the time. And we realized that this was something that people really weren't doing. It was just a bunch of wide shots, just capturing the room as a whole. So that was kind of a game changer, I think, and something that we taught all of the other photographers that work with us, that they need to be doing that because it adds the moments that Logan was mentioning into the deliverables that we provide our clients. And then also, since we've been growing, and there's been more competition coming about, and there's a lot of other cool companies who are doing a lot of cool things. We decided that we were going to start focusing on creating content and trying to do social media marketing and stuff like that. So I really do think that in addition to our client relationships, we are able to offer our services with a marketing approach, which is a lot different than somebody who's just a fantastic photographer. We can actually develop comprehensive assets and stuff like that to market commercial properties or homes. We have like a ton of amazing people on our team, and I think that we take our level of service to the next level by being able to offer those types of things to our clients.
No, I love that. I love that. And I love how you guys were saw something that needed to change and you changed it. And I think that's, Nate, you've kind of been talking about where you see the future of this photography and videography going, of more like experiential and experiences and having people. Do you want to get into a little bit of that and then what you think, where you see things going?
Absolutely. So we're in a world where we are just consuming a ton of content, and everybody has seen a Airbnb on Instagram that they want to visit because of the awesome content that's being produced there. And that's how I really see the future of listing media. I think that listing media currently, as stands, is a lot of wide angle photos still. There's some detailed photos. There's some people who have the agent walking through and stuff like that. Then there's also some other lifestyle content that's being produced. But I think that it's going to be very mainstream and really be the future of listing media by adding people and other elements into the scenes that we're capturing, because we really need to be able to do something different. Great photos aren't going to be cutting it anymore. You can see that with the evolution of Instagram and why they're copying TikTok with the reels. TikTok found that there was a huge market for organic content. So you can only imagine that if realtors are creating this organic type content with people experiencing the house as it should be, that's going to drive a lot more people to be viewing the house or just requesting more information about it. And also, I think that the way that people consume content, a lot of it is done by master marketers. And I think that realtors have now entered into this game of competing with other people who are master marketers online, people that have been doing this since the e-commerce days. And I think that they have to learn how to do a lot of lead generation. It's not, lead generation is just not getting calls from Zillow anymore. There's a lot more opportunity online with SEO, website design, forms, social media ads. And a lot of realtors now just go ahead and post like 30 or 50 photos on the MLS with like one video. I see that there's also potential for realtors to use it almost like a lead generating tool, where they post like maybe 5 of the best photos in like a quick 15-second video, where people are like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. This looks so awesome. Like, I want to see more. Like, I want to reach out for more information. And it's very similar to the way that like dating apps are used, right? People will just see all the photos that they want. They're like, nah. There's no like way to entice people. And I think that realtors will eventually have to adapt in that way that these master marketers have been doing it since the 2000s during the e-commerce days. I know that was a little long-winded, but I'm very passionate about this.
You make a good point, because in our industry, there's this thing called the hero image. Hero image is the first picture you see, for that listing. And usually when people are shopping for homes, they're looking just to see what catches their eyes. So say I want a 3-bed, 2-bath, single story. In this city, there's probably 50 or 100. So what you're doing is you're trying to look at this first impression, this one image, right? And does that image draw you in for you to click on it, right? How can that be changed to be a more interactive experience, right? Like kind of like a dating app, you see the first picture and right away you're like, yes, no. But I think there's more of a story to be told. And if we could do it in a captivating way, I think there's a lot of opportunity there, Nate.
Absolutely.
I mean, even the dating apps are adding voice prompts and things like that. So, we're all evolving.
Very good point.
Yeah. And it just shows, right? Like, there's layers to the internet. When you're able to experience or meet people like in VR, like that's a whole nother level. Like, we're slowly adapting, but the tools are out there to really like be immersed into different situations, experience products in 3D or virtual, but that's a whole nother story.
The future of house buying is swiping left, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. So, with this podcast, all of us are really there's some few topics and core themes that we're always going to be sharing about. And I kind of did realize that in the beginning, I never introduced myself. I'm Montana, and I do a lot of the social media. So that's what I do, the personal brand side and everything like that. So things that we're going to talk about this on the podcast and then in the community, just like branding strategies for realtors, creative ideas, time-saving tools for marketing, and just behind the scenes. So when we're looking at brands, we're getting close to holidays. It's almost Thanksgiving, which is just crazy. November just blinked. What should a brand be doing during the holidays to set themselves out like and apart?
I can answer that. So when you think about the holidays, most people are gathered with their families, taking time off of work, and although you're with your family trying to spend attentive time, everyone is scrolling, right? Everyone is scrolling, and there's a big opportunity for your brand to be noticed during that time or be present, right? And I would say a majority of brands aren't posting during the holidays because they haven't planned to do it. And then they're not wanting to do it now that they're with their families. But they're scrolling, right? And I think that brands that post during the holidays and are present just lay out the foundation for success going into the next year. They are the ones that are showing up. Although we're in November and December, as people are already thinking about their goals for the next year, right? People are thinking, hey, I want to buy my house next year. I want to sell my house next year. So by planting that seed early, it's really important that you're doing that for next year's goals. A lot of people think like, hey, I'm just going to post a video and someone's going to comment, hey, I want to sell my house or DM. It's not really like that. It's more of like the long game of building your brand. So while people are thinking, hey, I want to buy a house next year, I want to sell a house next year, you want to be the number one realtor they think about. And that's just so important. And during the holidays, people are nice and friendly and watching content. So it's important.
So it's really hard to be posting during the holidays. And the reason why we're creating this new package is because we know that when you're running around with your family and enjoying the holidays, the last thing you want to do is post on Instagram. So we're making it extremely easy by allowing you to send us your listing media, all of your past stuff that you've done over the year, and we're going to take that and cut it up into a whole bunch of engaging content and post it online for you. And the whole process takes about like an hour or so, and you're going to be all over people's feeds when you're enjoying your time with your family. So we're super excited about that package. I know Blake has been doing an awesome job selling this already, so I would love for him to, talk about his experience so far.
Yeah, I think one of the big advantages to this program is that you can be very organic, and what you see and what you capture in that moment, whether you have an idea of how you want to post it, I mean, that's where we come in and make it deliverable to your audience and to your brand. So, I mean, to piggyback kind of off what we're all saying is, I think there's a really good opportunity to use a lot of old content and really create a lot of new trendy things with old types of content. And that's what we're trying to provide to you. That way you can just not have another full-time job of social media. So
It's actually been really fun. The couple of people that you've sent over, they've sent a lot of cool stuff, and I was finishing up a lot of it last night, and I was like, wait, they're gonna be shocked when they see just this stuff from their camera roll is trendy and cute. So I'm really excited about this package. Because it
Yeah.
is just about showing up, even in the holidays. Like, I think the holidays is the best time to show up, just being personable, because I think a lot of people don't realize that people buy from people, and showing who you are really works.
Exactly why we're doing this podcast.
We are people. We are not AI.
Yes.
I know we focus on a lot of high quality shots of properties, but when people are building their personal brand, how can you shoot low budget authentic videos? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question because many personal brands and brands think about hiring a production team to create really high quality content. And that's great. That does work, especially for like the big corporate brands and stuff. But for personal brands, ones in which we typically work with, I think the most important thing to do is be authentic to your audience, right? And be your real self. And a lot of times when the production starts, people aren't being themselves, right? A lot of people try and kind of fancy up a script um, or do many different things to make this production. I think we're definitely seeing a shift from high production type of scripted content, shifting over towards a more authentic, value-based content. That's just a person showing up for who they are. And ultimately, people want to do business with people they know, right? And if you could kind of open up your world to these people just by being super authentic, I mean, simply as like pulling your camera out and wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving, I think that's so much more authentic than someone having a super, super well done video. Um, I mean, both can do really well, but it's just so authentic and easy to just say what you know and speak with your heart and do it organically.
I love that answer, Logan. That is such a good point. Thank you for sharing. I agree. I think you just need to, I think people are scared of it and they overthink it so much. Just, if TikTok showed us anything, it's just literally pulling out your camera and talking to it can work. That's how these influencers have gained all their followings, things like that. So I think we overcomplicate it. And so how can people stop overthinking it and put it into action, Nate? Like, how can you simplify that content creation process? Something I really like admire about the work you do is like you're very about systems and you love a system. So like, how can people, simplify that process?
Totally. Well, I appreciate that. And I think that when creating systems, you have to figure out the key components of it. And I can use an example of like something that even you're doing is first creating the content pillars, right? You have to create or identify the different things that you want to talk about. And then you could eventually plan certain days to capture this content. You need a schedule. And if you're able to, in addition to all of those things, be able to brand yourself as somebody or someone who does a certain thing or says a certain thing, maybe when they sign on or sign off, people will tend to like really see you as this person that you're consistently showing up as. And I think that in order to get started, you really just have to identify like the main goal, right? With any marketing plan or campaign, identify the goal and then reverse engineer how you want to get there. And a lot of times it's just getting started. I mean, if you're able to pull out your camera, get a feel for just the whole experience, that's gonna move mountains for you, versus just thinking about it and trying to come up with all these different ideas. A lot of times when creating systems, I'll create something and something will not work the way that I intended it to, and then you have to revise it. So it's consistently trying to improve your process, similar to like what we're doing right now. This is our first podcast. There's some things that popped off or whatever, and it's okay. Like, we're going to figure it out. We're going to do it again. We have something planned next week, same time, to do this all over again. And by the end of it, we're going to have just the most polished podcast. And if not, that's fine too, because it's all about the value that you're trying to provide. And you can do that simply by just picking up your phone and talking to the people about what it is that you want them to know.
Yeah, Nate, I totally agree with you. I think that the first step is just getting comfortable picking up your phone. And, we see the end result of like, wow, look at that amazing podcast. And you have these high expectations. And I think that's what scares people, because they look at people that have been doing it for years, and your first podcast is not going to be your best. Your first vlog's not going to be your best. Your first listing's not going to be your best. And it just takes experience. But the best thing you could do is just take the first step of getting comfortable taking video, whether it's of you or things, and just start posting things, right?
Yeah. And there's also a curve. There's people that think that people really do care about what others are going to think. And I can ask everyone here and anyone who's listening, do you remember a post that was made 2 days ago? Chances are probably not. Can you remember something yesterday or 5 hours from now from more than two people? Probably not. So a lot of people will start to have this fear of doubt and just fear of acceptance. And I really think that that's something that you're going to have to practice and a skill you'll end up sharpening just by getting started and putting yourself out there. And a lot of times, what happens when people get started doing things, a new thing, people will see it and they'll be, it's the curve that starts here. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this person, they're doing this, like whatever. And you keep doing it, and then people start catching on, and then all of a sudden you're at the top of the curve, and then people are like, oh my gosh, I just always knew that this person was going to create the best content or be the best piano player. And it's, people are going to ultimately always have something to say. Just focus on the good things.
Give them something to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, if I could add just one piece of advice, I kind of live by this, but sometimes being uncomfortable is the way to get comfortable. So it just goes to show you got to start somewhere, and you'll make it to the end of the road.
That's right, Blake. It's a double-edged sword.
Snaps for Blake. Love it. Love it. That kind of gets into let's get into this, like, and then we'll kind of like wrap on this, because I think what pits people off from content creation is maybe like a comparison trap or something. They're like, oh well, I'm not like this person, or we have our favorite people that we follow and we want to like mimic that, but then we're just getting started. And I think people get like trapped in the vanity metrics, like the views of it all, and or how many likes I get. But I personally so I want to hear what everyone thinks is the most important metric: likes, comments, shares, or engagement. I don't think it's likes. I don't think it's comments. Shares are pretty cool, but I think it's those connections that happen in your DMs, like building connections with people through the content that you're putting out. Like a lot of the sales happen in direct messages, in things like that. Like I've never had to make a post about sales or anything. They've come to me through connections and real relationships through things like that. So what do you think is the most important metric on social? Like likes, comments, shares, or engagement?
I got something for you. Well, I have another story. Something how I started out like in the photography world was like creating content and photos and stuff like that. And I remember just being so like down on myself when it didn't get like 300, 500 likes or something like that. Then all of a sudden, like the algorithm changed or whatever, and then they started not showing your stuff to your followers, and then like my content completely fell off. And I remember like going on a hiatus, was like, I'm not posting anymore, like see you later Instagram, that whole thing. And as I kind of like just forgot about that, it was not until what I realized was the actual value that I was putting out there. And that's the reason why that content wasn't hitting anymore. A lot of times this content that's succeeding is the value-based and value-driven content because it's shareable. And ultimately, if there was a metric that I would try and measure, would be like, how much value are you putting out there? And then next, like, money talks. So if your goal is to earn money from what you're doing online, I think the next conversion or the next metric would be conversion, right? It's like, how much value am I adding, and is it enough to drive a conversion? And I think that ultimately, if that's your goal online, then those are two things that you're gonna have to have your eye on for sure.
Great answer.
Yeah, that's definitely that's next level right there. And just knowing, what the cost is for a lead. What is the cost that you're actually putting into it? And I mean, starting at value is so important, because that's what's bringing people to your page. I think for me, I think engagement's the most important. And working with, working mostly with real estate agents that are focusing in a geographical area, right? Um, you could have people liking your stuff from all over the world, saying, "Hey, this is a cool house," or this or that, but not all of those likes or not all of those shares are people that could actually buy the house or people that are actually going to transact with you. So when you see some of these brands with a ton of likes that post like cool things, it doesn't necessarily measure the success um, of their business and how much they're actually closing. So what I think is, and this is really important, is you can totally use your Instagram as your CRM, right? Your CRM is all of the people that know of you, like you, trust you, and whatnot. Um, but engagement really measures, is your audience watching your stuff? Are they commenting? Are they engaged? Right. And I think an engaged audience is one that can actually transact. So, when you're working with building your brand, and let's say you're local to Sacramento or a smaller town, right? Um, just because you have 5,000 followers and not 100,000 doesn't mean you can't be largely successful. And I think it's important that if you have, like, I'd rather have 5,000 followers and a high engagement rate than 100,000 followers and a very low engagement rate, right? I think, and I think those 5,000 followers, if you could actually build connections with them and be relatable and give them value that they can actually use locally, not just entertainment, whether it's posting about what's going on in town or really giving them the insights they need to make educated decisions in real estate. I think that's really what's important.
That's great. That's so true, because those vanity metrics like don't matter except the engagement. Like it's better to have a smaller audience that's more engaged than a huge big number of followers and two people view your story.
Yeah, and also something too to add. I think Blake may had wanted to add something to it. Look like, but real quick, Gary Vee has this wonderful example of talking about engagement and these vanity metrics, right? So often we're like, oh man, only 100 people liked my post, and that's all I get is 100 likes all the time. If you were to take 100 people and put them in a room, that's a room filled with a lot of people, right? So you can only imagine how many like engagements can be created just with that 100 people, just with 50 people to eventually get to 100, to get to 1,000, and it's a multiplier effect. So if you're constantly worried about those numbers, instead of looking at it negatively because there's people who have millions of followers, you could do the same type of damage and conversion online with a lot less.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nate. And I think a lot of people nowadays get really fixated on numbers. And I mean, you kind of touched on it. I only got 100 likes, or I only well, people really want to see likes and they want to see high numbers, right? Because our society just is driven on some type of monetary value that may bring or just make them feel better about themselves, honestly. And I think, in my opinion, engagement would be the most important as well, because you can connect with, if your audience is connecting and engaging, that shows a two-way relationship where they're just kind of liking and kind of brushing through, and there's really no real engagement. I mean, what are you trying to get out of this conversation or this post, right? Mm-hmm. So I think commenting is important. I think that can really start as a cold lead, or it could just be, oh, this is a great piece of content, and maybe the conversation has continued to be open by consistency. But I mean, Logan kind of hit the hammer on the head with the engagement. So, in my opinion, I think engagement is probably the most important.
I want to make one more point, and this is going to be a good one. So if you're an existing brand and you have a following, maybe friends, family, people that like and trust you, and you have, you know, some sort of automated posting thing because you're trying to be present. You're just posting like automatic little photos of listings and little infographics and stuff, and you get like 3 likes, 0 engagement. This is the most important thing you can do is when you work with a company that's trying to revive your brand, it's not about getting more likes and more followers. It's engage your audience, your existing audience, right? Even if it's just 100 people, think about them and give them what they want, right? Give them the value they want and engage that audience and build from there. You don't want to have an existing audience of people that already like and trust you and not engage them and then start focusing on follower growth or likes. I think that's just the key. Because I mean, if you have, you know, if I heard this from a coach once, I'm not sure exactly who this was from, but the coach says everyone should have a top 100 supporters, the people that like you, trust you, will tell their friends about you. And if you have 100 of those people, that's really all you need to have a highly successful career in real estate. But you have to be top of mind of all of these 100. So if you only get 100 likes, that's totally okay, right? But they should know, hey, like, you got to talk to my real estate agent. They're the best, right? And that's a really powerful brand. So how do you just engage your current audience of the people that already like and trust you and have known you for so long?
Good stuff. I love it. Snaps all around the table. We're having church up in here. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything that you guys wanted to touch on this first one that I didn't get to, or any final thoughts before we like close this out?
Yes, I think that we should have a challenge at the end of the podcast. And it could be a way for us to give a valuable tip or a valuable actionable thing that somebody could accomplish. And I think that if you're interested in building your brand online or just getting started, I think the challenge, this is just my idea, but creating a video introducing yourself to your audience. I think that it's something that could allow you to reactivate your audience and be able to just get in front of people in a very easy way. So I'm also open to any other ideas, but I like the idea of a challenge.
I like that. Would you like this to be like a weekly challenge? Like we do, like, hey, I challenge you to do this week?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll throw a challenge in there. While you're doing your business, whether you're at the office or touring homes or at a coffee shop, shoot 10 videos this week of what you're doing. You don't have to be in it.
That's a good one too.
Preach. Love it.
It's a gold mine right there.
B-roll. People don't understand. Faceless account. This is another thing. Faceless accounts are blowing up. I've been doing a lot of research. So you don't even have to be in the shot if you don't want to. Like, don't let that be an excuse. So I really enjoyed this. I'm really excited for the future of the podcast, of what's happening at CLOUT, what's happening at Omni. We'll talk about that. What's happening with all the things that you guys are doing, and I'm excited to introduce them all here. So, if you found value in this episode, you'll enjoy what we're doing. So be sure to follow us at CLOUT Agents.
There you go. All right, everyone.
This was fun.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.